Good day, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining me today. My name is Chris Berkshire with CTC Software, and today we are going to embark on a journey into Outerspace on a two-part series and working with space planning and Revit and Spreadsheet Link. Today is going to be the kind of the kickoff, part one, and we're going to show you how to set this up and what it takes to begin the process and how to set the Revit file up, how to use Spreadsheet Link and how to start incorporating some of the data that you may have inside of your building programs. And I'll show you some examples and a couple of quick ways to go about putting this all together. Part two, we'll take a deeper dive into setting this up and building the repeatable process and how to use various Excel formulas to go ahead and link your Revit models to the building programs in Excel. Today, we're going to make sure everybody understands kind of how this is supposed to go, the basics. So, one of the major challenges and the reason why I came up with this in the first place is because we oftentimes get these crazy, all these various requirements and needs from the customer or from the client, and we need to find a way to bring these into the Revit files. So in the past, when everything was on bumwad or just on a sketch, we could use colored pencils and we could do block diagrams and pencil everything in and make it look nice and pretty. And with Revit, it's kind of that doesn't happen often unless you're really advanced and you've built massing families and you've color coded all of that stuff and you've linked everything together accordingly. But how do we automate some of that process, right? You may have seen things in the past using Dynamo. Well, that is a very labor-intensive application, and if you don't know anything about Dynamo or any sort of programming language, it's very hard to learn, and maintenance is a bit of a challenge. So that's why I developed this course or this webinar series so that we can go ahead and take that information and use something that's a little bit more user-friendly, easier to work with, and all you need to know is how to do some basic Excel functions, which you can learn rather easily doing Google searches. So today, we are going to focus on what we need to do in Revit. Right? We're going to get the Revit model set up. We're going to get families built, and I'm not going to walk you through step by step, but we're going to show you what the families are, what parameters you need, and how to get that all laid out. And then we're going to use Spreadsheet Link to start to import some of this Excel data, and then how to massage it, how to manipulate it, how we can report back on it, and get some diagrams put together today. So the first part is the Revit Prep, right? We need some families to do this with, and you can choose between massing families if you'd like. Massing families are nice because you can go ahead and do wall by face, or you can get square footages of those things. You can create, you can put floors in there if you need to. If you wanted to make two-story spaces out of them or anything along those lines. So we have a lot of flexibility there. They can be in various shapes if you need to. You have press and pull options that you can do with them. So massing families are very powerful, but you could also just use a good old generic model if you don't need anything super extreme. And if you're building out your formulas and the families properly, and you can get the same exact information using generic models. You just don't get all the extra customizing of the item itself with that, like you would with a mass item. We got to build a tag, and with these tags involve specific parameters, right? They have to be shared parameters, so we'll go through that process. And then we get into well, since we're using massing, by default, those are off, so we're going to set up a view template, and we can apply some filters if we want to, as an option for dictating color codes if you want. Otherwise, we could do it by material. Either way works pretty well. Set up some schedules so that we can see the data in Revit, compare it to what we're getting in Excel, and run some additional calculations in the schedule in case we want to know the difference between the actual modeled area versus the proposed or required design area. So we can see what the differences are. We can format the schedules a little bit to highlight issues if we need to. And then for data populating, we have to place some of this stuff. Then there's the spreadsheet link side of it, where we need to create the report of, or basically we need to get a list of our massing families or generic model families, and with the appropriate parameters available so that I can export that to Excel and bring my data through. And then at that point, if you're really Excel savvy, you build out your lookup formulas or your indexing and you get all that stuff put together prior to linking it back into Revit. So that's kind of what we're doing today. So we're just going to get right to it. I'm going to go ahead and fire up Revit. And for this example, I'm going to start a new project. And I keep my templates in Hive. And so I'm going to go ahead and start it here. And with this, we're going to update my template. And I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of views and then start bringing some of the content in. And then show you how it's set up, how we can go about building some of it. So in this case, I am going to use View Creator to help me create some floor plans. I don't need anything crazy. In this case, I'm just going to do, first and second floor for this. And I'm going to go ahead and make presentation and general plans for today. Do construction only. Add those to my list. It's going to create 4 views for me. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Done. And now I can go ahead and start getting to it. So in my floor plan, I've got nothing. So I want to go ahead and start loading in the content. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. If you don't have Hive, you can just do your good old insert load family. I have Hive, so I'm going to go ahead and find the families that I want to bring in. I'm just going to double click it to load it in. And just to kind of show you how this works. Okay, it's going to enable mass mode for me. And here's the family. So I used massing to put these together, personal preference of mine. You don't have to, like I mentioned earlier, it can be a generic model. But in the family itself, and this is where I wanted to focus a little bit of time on today, we need to get this set up to be fully functional so that regardless of what the program states, when I bring that data across, it can insert that and then we can flex it, we can press and pull it, we can put it anywhere we want, and then I can schedule it accordingly and, for whatever the needs may be, right? So what I did is a couple of different things. In my parameters here under family types, I built in, basic length, width, and height parameters. I did those as instance properties so that whoever is going to go ahead and lay this out has the free range to press and pull and do everything that they would possibly need to do. And I pulled these out of my shared parameter file so they can be scheduled if necessary. And I could theoretically tag that value if I wanted to. And I did that with all of these. So I also have area, which I'm calculating myself. I have a design area, which is what we want. That's kind of our benchmark, right? We got to be within a certain range of that value, whatever that may end up being. And then we have the difference, right? Which is our modeled area minus the design area or proposed area. And this is the important one that I want to highlight in the schedule later on. And so these all had to be shared to get that to work. And then I gave myself a material here to change the colors if I want to. And if you make this a part of your workflow, you can build out a number of different materials based on your company's color coding standards, right? Sometimes you have a color scheme that you try to apply to all projects. So we would go ahead and input that here. And then beyond that, you have the ability to add additional detail to this. Like I provided myself a wall thickness property so that I can space these out accordingly if I want to, if I need to put walls in later on. It helps me kind of gauge how big the building is really going to be without actually having anything drawn at all. So, and then when you do actually get to the positioning of walls later on, you can use your masses or your blocks as something to trace so that you know where the walls are intended to go before you start dropping in rooms and areas and various other items. So it's kind of useful. I like it. Another option you have to put in here is some designers prefer to have rounded edges, right? So you could put a void in there. You could control it with various control values and stuff like that. So you give them the option to have it or not to have it. It's entirely up to you or your user base if you're building the content for your firm. I did not in this example, but I do have some other content that does that I can show you. But that's pretty much it, right? So there's not a whole lot to it. It's very light, very simple. If I do input a wall thickness of a foot, it's going to divide that by 2 so that we get, I get equal amounts of wall on either side of that reference plane then. So, and this then becomes my alignment point when I'm trying to link these 2 blocks together. Okay. So, and then, so I would take this one then at this point and start positioning them in the model. Now, we need to have a number of these placed so that we have a host for all of the data from the program that we're going to bring in. Okay, so one of the things you may need to do prior to dropping in a bunch of these massing blocks or planning blocks is open the program, right? So there's a number of different programs, styles and formats and things. So here you can see we've got a very well thought out and put together one for an educational facility that has biology rooms, chemistry, classroom, commons, computer science, math, physics, the list goes on. So there's a lot of formatting that comes into play. Now, or you get a simple one like this. Now, if you get a simple one like this, you're lucky. This is actually one that I formatted myself and put together. So they're probably not going to be this simple. More of them are going to look like the previous one that I showed you. Now, yeah, so here's my template that I used to put that together. So the challenge in linking this up together is, getting this into a format that, or I'm sorry, not this one, getting this into a format that can be used by Spreadsheet link, right? So as long as each individual item is listed, that makes it really easy to go ahead and formulaically map it to the item later on. In this case, I'm just gonna, we could just do a bunch of copy pasting as well and migrate all of our data across that way. So, so in this case, in the spreadsheet that I'm using today, here, not there, here, I need to know how many rooms that I want to place, right? How many do I need to bring in? And this one's, again, a little bit formatted differently so that I have an idea of how many I need. This one is showing 50. I'm not going to do all 50, but as you know, copying content 50 times is not the end of the world. It's pretty simple. I've only got about 45 here. So I'm just gonna do 10, let's say. So back in the Revit file, I am gonna go ahead and move these around and space them out a little bit because I don't know what sizes they're gonna be. This could be, you know, some could be very large, some could be small. You never know. Unless you're paying a ton of attention and being very meticulous about what you see in the program, then you'll know. And so I'm gonna make 2 rows of this. Okay. Now I'm just gonna get some of these out of the way. So at this point, my files are ready for some data, right? So there's going to be 2 things that one thing in this case that I'm going to do prior to sending this out to Excel is I'm just going to build a quick schedule of my masses so that I have the ability to report back, to visually see the data that I'm looking for the second I bring it in. And then sometimes it'll make it easier to go ahead and find the items later on, you know, change the levels that they're hosted to, things like that. So I've got a couple of different parameters that I want to bring across here. So I'm going to go by department, and I'm going to go by the room name parameter that I made. I need area. I want my design area, and then I need the difference. And then you can go ahead and include other information here as well. You know, maybe some of these need to be on a different level, like level 2, right? So go ahead, you can add, well, actually these are hosted, so you can't add the level parameter. If you use the generic model, you could use the level parameter and go ahead and move things around. In this case, I physically have to edit the work plane. So that will have to be adjusted, and that's okay. You know, so one of the things that you could do if you go with the massing route is you can create another parameter. And this can be just a project parameter if you want, but shared parameter works too. Is to add a level-ish type parameter, right? So let's call this well, we just call it program level, let's say. And the only reason why I'm even making this in the first place is just so that I can tell the item what level it's supposed to be on, so that I can easily track them down, select them, and edit their work plane later on to get them at the right level, okay? That's it. That's the only reason why I care. I could go through sorting right now, and, you know, it doesn't really, I don't have anything to sort by at the moment. But I will do sort by department, then by room name. This way, the formatting that gets used here will stay consistent with however we've got our Excel files formatted later on, so that, you know, with copy paste or with indexing and matching and VLOOKUPs, we are always going to get consistent data then, and the blocks aren't going to change up on us if we were to refresh our information. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so here's my schedule. Obviously, I don't have anything, I don't have much here. And it's doing the calculations for me, which is great. The one piece here that I missed is the conditional formatting. So I'm going to go back to the properties. And for my area difference, I am going to do format. And I'm going to say if the area difference is greater than, or let's see, if the area difference is greater than or equal to, let's say, 50. And then what color do we want this to be? You know, maybe we'll make it red. Okay, so that way, if the difference between the two is super high, let's flag it. And maybe 50 is a little on the high end here. Maybe let's do 30. Okay. And then, you know, if I want to do, I could do another one theoretically. And let's just leave it at 0 or less than 0. Wow. Oops, I forgot to change. Well, it's not going to let me do both. Never mind. We'll just leave it at 30. Call it good. Okay. When I hit OK, everything should be red because right now there is no design area input into the system. So I failed everywhere. All right. So I'm gonna. No, I'll do the filtering a little bit later. So what I want to do now is jump into the spreadsheet link process and start pushing some data back and forth. So with the BIM project suite, I'm going to pull this down so it's a little easier to see. There are green set of tools here, and Spreadsheet Link, which many of you may have heard of before, is kind of one of the premier tools in the BIM project suite. Definitely one of the more powerful tools in the suite, if not the most powerful, and probably one of the more widely used applications out there from our project suites. So we're going to go ahead and build this out. So I got to grab in this case, I should save my file. Getting ahead of myself here. That happens from time to time. If you do have to save the model if you want to get access to Spreadsheet Link. And that holds true with detached files. If you just open up a work shared model detached because you want to test a few things and play around with it a bit, you got to save it before you can use Spreadsheet Link. So now that I've saved it, let's try that again. There we go. So now I'm going to format this the same way I did my other schedule. So we're going to go by department. We're going to go by root name. And then we're going to grab, well, in this case, I need to add a couple of extra things, but I'm not going to, we'll wait on that. Do area, design area. I don't need the difference here because that's something specific to my design process. And I don't really need, well, I do need area. And then what couple of extra ones that I need now that we didn't before is width and length, right? I need a way to tell the items how big they're supposed to be. You can't edit the area parameter because it's running calculations on the width and the length for me, right? So that's a kind of a read-only type of property that you can't do much with. So got to build out my own, got to bring these in, and then in the spreadsheet that I'm using for the program, I got to find a way to tell our Spreadsheet Link Excel file here what the width and the length need to start out with, right? So there may be a little bit of math that needs to happen in the program, or in one of your formulas later on down the road as you start building these the supreme awesomeness into some of your spreadsheets. So then the last one I'm going to add is this program level. And again, this is unique to the massing schema, but this is just so I have an idea if I need to move it to a different level. Now I can have an indicator in there that tells me, yes, this needs to be on level 2, right? Another way to do that would be if you already knew what the intended room numbers were, or if there was some type of room ID that was in the programs that you could incorporate, right? That might indicate what level they want it to be on. And chances are, though, it's not going to be there. And you may not even know when you do this, in which case this parameter is useless. So, yeah, so if I pop back over to my spreadsheet here, looks pretty similar to what I had before. So 2 things need to happen here. First, I'm going to save my settings so that the next time I need to incorporate some of this, or if I want to build out a new spreadsheet, I don't have to do it again, right? So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go ahead and call it the same thing, but demo. All right, good. The next thing I need to do is unprotect this worksheet. By default, all the spreadsheet link files that are generated from the project suite are locked. You can't modify them. So you have to unlock them if you want to do any sort of editing outside of the application. So if you hit unprotect and just click unprotect, it will unprotect it. The password is already pre-canned in, and you don't have to think twice about it. And for anyone that cares to know, it's just the password is password, all lowercase. So that can be modified and changed inside of settings files buried deep within your computer if you need to. I don't recommend changing that though, because then what if you forget? I've done that before and I had to reinstall everything. So that was before I knew about settings files. Anyway, enough about my blunders. So now that I've done that, I can edit this as I need to outside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and save the Excel file out. Now, you don't have to save it. Yeah, I'll open it now. You could just edit it right there on the spot, right? Inside of the spreadsheet link preview windows here. This is an editor. So you can build it out as much as you need to. You could pull up your Excel file with your program data and, kind of position these side by side and start copying and pasting if you want. You can build in any sort of VLOOKUP or, match this, index that, XLOOKUP, whatever cells you're working with and whatever information you're trying to incorporate, you can bring all that in just right here. And you don't have to save out an Excel file for anything. You can just edit the file and apply it, right? So just real quick, I'll show you. So we've got storage and archival storage. Okay, so we'll do that. So this is archival storage. Storage is the name. And I'm just going to do one of these. Oh, this one's huge. So this one's going to be 2,400 square feet. And I need to do some maths real quick. So in your calculator, what did I say, 24.5? Oh, you got to click the buttons in the right order. Geez, 156, huh? Okay, so there you have it. So now I can type in 156, 156, and then apply. One thing was changed. Okay, that's it, right? So, and you can see my actual area is a little bit off. I didn't bring the design area in, but I can now type in 2,500 or 24,500, and now I'm off, right? So get that cleaned up, and maybe it's more critical that the room be at least the size that is proposed. If it's bigger, whatever, we can change our formatting and flag it if the rooms are too small. Okay, so then in some cases you've got occupancy information that you need to include. You can always add those too. So that is in the spreadsheet preview window, edit and manipulate it as you see fit. Otherwise, what you can do is open it directly in Excel, and there is one subtle change that I forgot to make that we are now gonna make. it's this little unit symbol box down here. So right now we get feet and inches for everything, okay? Excel doesn't do a good job of doing that. And chances are a lot of the spreadsheets that you're gonna run across, they may not even have feet and inches listed anywhere. It's just gonna be the number. And it's assumed that it's in feet or in inches, and maybe that's noted somewhere, right? When chances are all you're gonna get is the square footage, right? You may not even get a width and a length. So when we do our math inside of Excel to generate width and length, I can't format that as feet per se and bring it in here and have Spreadsheet, Link, and Revit understand that easily. So the best thing to do, and this allows for better formula control later on down the road, is to hide the unit symbol. Spreadsheet, Link, and the application in Revit still know that these are all in feet. So whatever number you enter in here to push back in, it's going to be in feet. So you gotta remember that, be aware of that. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and resave my settings here quick. Fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this back out to our demo file and open it. All right. So here's the Excel file that I've got from Revit. And here's the one I have now from Excel that I received that, you know, well, this is the one that I was going to use for today. And the only reason why I chose that is because it's a little bit easier to see. It's already been broken out so that my total spaces, each one has its, you know, a bunch of these have one individual space already. Some already have the math done for me. The areas that don't, we can do the maths ourselves with handy calculators, but I'm not going to do very many that way, you know, just cause. So I'm going to start by just grabbing a couple of different ones here. So by different, I mean, let's do one of the archival processing. And oops, Unprotect, TAS word. There we go. That's better. Now I can actually, you can't even edit the cells if it's not unprotected. So like make them whiter. So you definitely are going to want to go ahead and do that. This is, click the wrong spreadsheet. This one is procedure. Oh, not there. All right, you know what? I'm going to close this because I'm confusing myself now. Nope. There we go. Procedure, spelling. Okay. And then, you know what? Let's just do this, and this. And the 150, so just for the sake of, I can put this here, and I can make this 15 and 15. I know that's too big. Don't yell at me for that. So we'll do public area. We'll call this lobby. And this particular one I'm going to do here, which is the 1,500 square feet, which is, I don't even remember what that was. So I'm just going to type in 40 by 40. And let's do a couple more. staff area. I'll just call it admin office. And we'll use this one at 250. And again, 15 by 15. I'll do another staff area one. Keep it at normal office this time. And then here we'll do, what did I do before? This time we'll do 150 and we'll do 12 by 12. And, you know, depending on what the spaces are and what you're doing, you know, it might be easier just to, if you want to repeat things, you know, use the basic Excel functions and, you know, let it do its auto copy for you. Numbers are a little different, but if you get a couple, you can press and drag those and they'll be the same across the board. Same deal here. Then the program level. Let's just pretend one, 2, and I did that wrong. Copy, paste, paste, paste. All right. So very rough, not very elegant, but it's going to get the job done. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and hit save, right? I've got an update to my file now. And what's nice about Spreadsheet Link and the ability to save these files out is anybody that has Excel installed or has an Office 365 account can edit this data. They can populate this for you. So it doesn't have to be, you know, the designer or whoever's working in Revit, you know, chomping at the bit, trying to get things done, building content for the project, you know, inserting the massing content, whatever the case, right? It can be, you know, the architect, the space planners, the teams that are in charge of reviewing the programs and making sure that the data is, you know, accurate and formatted correctly and has width and length maybe, right? Again, we could probably build some of that into a formula at another date. So I'm just going to start here. Now, I didn't touch this area column, and I didn't touch it because it's all going to auto-populate and change based on what these values are. It won't do it now, and that's fine, but it should update in the Revit models when I go ahead and apply it back to the model. So back to Revit. And hopefully we'll see some of this stuff change as we load it in. So I'm just going to fire up Spreadsheet Link again. This time, I'm just going to open that spreadsheet directly. And I should probably close it first. Otherwise, I'm going to get yelled at. All right. Here's my file. Let's hit open. It shows me all of the new data. Yes, it was updated. Great. Proof's in the pudding. Now I'm going to apply it. Okay. So I can just hit apply either the active worksheet, or if you did this with multiple tabs, you can insert the whole workbook. And there you go. Oh, I got a couple of errors. I wonder why it's yelling at me. I probably changed something that I wasn't supposed to change. Oh, okay. We're going to find out then. So, oh, I know what I did. So let's go back. I'm going to close these out. And actually, they all worked just fine. I don't know what it's barking about then. At any rate, here you go. Now it shows me exactly what I did in my spreadsheet. I get the department labeled. I get my room name set. the actual area, my designed area, and then the difference, and then what level it's going to be on or needs to be on. Okay, so here I've got two that were too big, and the rest are a little undersized. So I can live with that for now. But the beauty of this is the use cases, how it's used, right? So here's that big space that I had. I can go ahead and push it and pull it around. I can move it off to the side. And in this case, what I'm going to do first, though, before I do any of that, is I'm going to go ahead and turn on or enable, I should say, the wall thickness. So that's just a basic type property right now. So I'm going to say the wall thickness, we'll just do 8 inches for now. Okay, and visually you won't see that anything has changed, right? Now, and that might be a little challenging for some of us depending on, you know, our need for visuals. But what that did do is it offset that little reference line to here, right? So if I want to join these two rooms together, I can by aligning that invisible plane to that invisible plane. Lock it if you want. You'll lose a little some of the flexibility with each individual item here. But, you know, if they need to stay next to each other, maybe locking it's not a bad idea. It's entirely up to you how you want to go ahead and put that together. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that again with this guy and this guy, or, you know, you can always just grab these, use the move command, and, you know, tab down to your point here, but, you know, that takes away some of the fun of it, of being so exact, right? So what's nice about this is I have the ability to freely press and pull this and change the shape. And now that I brought the data in, I know what the design values are supposed to be, right? I'm supposed to be at 150. Well, I'm a little up on the high side right now, so I can pull this back in and watch it update live as I'm working, whether it's in the properties of the view, just like I'm doing here, or you can go ahead and put your schedule up side by side and do it that way, and watch the chart change as you're making the adjustments, right? So if we do it that way, just close these out of the way so I don't have extra windows. Nope, and nope. File it, here we go. So this is the procedure room here. I can go ahead and make changes, and you can see it's updating instantaneously, right? I'm a little on the big side. Okay, now we're under. So, oh, I'm sorry. Now we're under the, you know, threshold, I guess is what I did here, but maybe I want to get it a little bit closer, even still. All right, moving on to, and then, you know, now I got this oddball number just because I've been playing around and pressing and pulling. Maybe I just go ahead and change this to 10 feet and by 16 feet. There we go. Moving on. Then that final piece that I wanted to, that I added kind of at the tail end there, this program level parameter, that is strictly so that I can go ahead and quickly make adjustments, right? And because I did it in a schedule here, I can select it, see which one it is in the model, and switch back over to my plan view and edit that work plane. We can hit edit work plane, switch to second level, hit OK, it disappears because now it's on the second floor, right? There we go. So it's not the most intuitive way of doing things, you know, but it still works. It does the job. And so I will take that any day. And if, you know, one of the other options here is you can just do it to all of them, right? So I've got this one and this one and that one and that one. So these last 4 small guys all need to be on the next floor. So I can select them all, edit work plane, go to second level, hit OK, away they go. Just to confirm, there they are, right? So what, and then now whoever is the designer, architect, individual, you can start laying things out. Put all your rooms together, position things. If you needed different shapes, that's fine. You can build as many of these different block shapes as you can handle. For example, an L-shaped one, right? If I go back into my Hive here real quick, I can load in the L-shaped block that I made. Right? Looks like this, nice and simple. Obviously, there's no data for it, so I don't know. But what you could theoretically do is start inserting it in other areas. Well, of course, it didn't like that. But if you had an idea that you wanted some unique shapes, you could go ahead and position that stuff correctly. There is a way formulaically to tell Revit via spreadsheet link which family and which type to use, right? So if you wanted the L-shaped one, you can do that. And you can have the program told and pick it up for you, right? We can do that with spreadsheet link, which makes it that much more powerful. All it needs is the appropriate parametric data, right? We just need to know what the values need to be, and it'll go ahead and put it in. So, and again, a little bit more math is involved, but that's all doable via basic formulas that we can use in Excel. So the last part that I haven't talked about yet is just the tag. I mean, I haven't showed it to you, but a tag's a tag. You make a tag. This one's not formatted very well, but it still does the job. And, it'll tell you. It'll give you the department, the name, the square footages if you choose to. You can configure this so that it only shows departments or it only shows the name. Or in my case, it shows both. Put the box in. Because of the nature of the content, I can just rename them here too if I need to, if I want to change the department or change the name. Or maybe I made a mistake on the design area. I need to update that real quick. It's all nice and easy. So the final piece for today is if you want stuff color coded, right? As I mentioned earlier, we built this material property where you can go ahead and build space planning or block diagram materials based off, your kind of standard library of RGB values for putting together kind of these bubble diagrams and presentations. If you don't have one, you don't just go ahead and pick your own then, right? Makes it easy on you. So we'll call this rename planning storage. Or I'll call it archival storage since that's the actual department, right? Colors. Right? I can put a rendered appearance on it if I want, but I'm not going to render a mass. So let's change the shading colors to green. And then I can go ahead and change my graphic display options here to be what I want them to be, whether it's in your presentation plan or your basic floor plan, but it's all in the view template at that point. And in the floor plan, we go to general, we go to, where's my display? Nope, not that display. What? I can't find it. I'm blind today. Oh, that was it. I want consistent colors. And then switch back to the appropriate floor plan. Of course, now my masses are off again. So I got to turn those back on in my template. Oh, am I missing something? Anyway, you guys know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart apparently today. At any rate, what I want to do now is open it up for questions in case you guys have any. Just feel free to ask away in the question panel here. What I also want to do is, for those of you who have never seen the app before or aren't familiar with our tools or would like to learn more about them, there's a couple of different ways you can go about doing that. We have on our homepage, ctcsoftware.com, you can get a trial of all of our apps. Specifically, in this case, BIM Project Suite is the one we focused our efforts on today, where you can go ahead and get a copy of a 14-day trial. All of the apps in there work fully functioning for 14 days. And then after that, there's some freebies that are in there. They'll continue to work until you remove the tools. The other thing I want to show you guys is you can go to our YouTube channel, CTC Software, at youtube.com/CTC Software. We have tons and tons of videos up here where you can go ahead and browse through them. We have playlists set up by the specific application themselves. So you go to Spreadsheet link, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. Get intro videos. There's 20 some odd videos up here that you can choose from. If you want any more information, got one for engineering or structural engineering. So you get all kinds of good stuff here that you can choose from. So I strongly suggest you take a look at it. This will be up there, as will part 2 of this, which will be in a few weeks now, since we have the holidays in between. So we'll kick this one off sometime in January. So be on the lookout for that in our upcoming newsletter. All right. No questions at the moment, which is fine. It's pretty lightweight stuff today. The part 2 to this will actually have the nuts and bolts, or the behind everything. So we're going to talk about how to develop the formulas that will link our Revit data to the actual building program spreadsheets, and then how to make that a repeatable process. So we'll use the other app in here called Spreadsheet Link Express. That's what allows us to basically push out data, update it, extract the program info, and push it back into the Revit model, all with a click, maybe 2 clicks. So we're going to go through that entire process in the next webinar.